Hello and welcome to Unbossed, where we spotlight bold, compassionate, heart-centered leaders who are flipping the script on traditional business. At Heart Profit, we believe leadership is no longer about command and control and profit at all costs. It's about care, connection, and culture that actually helps people thrive. And we know when people thrive, our businesses thrive. Future of leadership is unbossed, unbought, and unapologetically human. So today, I would like to welcome our guest, Eric Gittens, to the show. Eric is actually a board member of Heart Profit. He became involved with us through one of our other board members. They worked together at a business several years ago, but they both shared. It was funny because when I was talking to them about Heart Profit, and when they heard about Heart Profit, they both went to that job. They're like, we worked for a company and this is how they did business. And it was wonderful to be there. And so that was the connection, how Eric became involved with Heart Profit, because then he also had bosses that were not so great in their leadership style. So he has a lot of wisdom to share with us there. And then he became his own leader. He became a leader and rose up through the ranks. And now he has taken what he learned from the good leaders and the bad leaders and formed his own leadership style that he's going to talk to us about today. Very excited about that. And of course, we have welcome, Eric. I'll let you say hi real quick.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Appreciate that warm welcome and opening. I cannot tell you how excited I am to get to this Heart Profit. My hope is that people will walk away with this with a clear understanding of what Heart Profit can do, not only for them, but also for their career as well. So looking forward to it, ladies.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, we have my co-host Gloria, who is the president of HPWP. They have been teaching compassionate leadership for 30 years. Welcome, Gloria.
Thanks, Stacy. Excited to be here with you and the opportunity to talk with Eric again. So looking forward to this.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So why don't we just go ahead and kick it off? Gloria, do you want to go ahead and get us started on this?
Yeah, you betcha. I love that you said what it's all about. It's talking to bold, compassionate, and heart-centered leaders. And boy, we got the right one here when we've got Eric on the show. And so, Eric, I really want to we want to hear from you in terms of what moved you to that. I mean, we're talking bold, right? We're talking compassionate and
Mhm.
heart-centered. So, what was your journey to that? I mean, for some, it comes a little more naturally. From some, they've had good experiences along the way that guided them. And others have had such horrible experiences that they went, I don't want to be that way. I'm going to do the opposite. So, what's your journey?
I used to think my journey was unorthodox, but as the years have progressed and I've talked to a lot of leaders, I realize there's a lot of other leaders out there just like me. Now, to answer your question, it originates just from good home bringing. That's good old mama raising you right, understanding manners and respect for others. That's number one. But for me, my first job, I actually had a compassionate leader. So I
Mm.
understood what that actually looked like. It wasn't until I left that leader and I jumped into some other businesses, some other entities that I learned what, well, you should probably not do as well. And actually, I'll probably learn more from that than I did from that compassionate leader, because unfortunately, the way the balance of the workforce is, it's more command and control than it is compassionate. So more people are experiencing what I experience in the negative. So I took from that and I said, you know what, maybe I just need to, how do I move the needle on this? Because, as you look at it, a lot of individuals who are in that command and control era also believe that is the only way to be expected to lead. And unfortunately, that's unfortunate for a lot. So, my journey started off as someone who took me under their wing and mentored me in leadership. I had this wild and crazy idea of actually becoming a doctor at one particular point in time. And to get there, it cost money. So I had to take a job. And I took a job in a hospital. What better place for someone rising to be a doctor to take a job in a hospital? And as I sat there in that hospital working, getting to know doctors and people of all different ilks and professions, I began to see what their life and journey was like Monday through Sunday. And I said, is this really what I want to do? And I questioned that. But I didn't question that I wanted a commitment to helping people. I was a child in the healthcare system. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And unfortunately, if you were graphing it, the ugly would outweigh the good and the bad, unfortunately. So I wanted to make a difference. And, as a child, the first thing you think of, well, be a doctor. That's the easiest way to do it. But then I realized that there's other ways on the administration side that you can do it. And then that's when I met my mentor. And as I was going through this flux in my head of what I wanted to do, I just made a decision. You know what? Maybe I'm going to go on this administration route. And my mentor took me under her wing. I really did not know what she was teaching me until maybe about 2 years in, when I got my first promotion with her. And after I got that first promotion with her, and this is the part, Gloria and Stacey, that really stuck with me. A lot of the things that I was doing, and when I got my promotion, I had already been doing at the level lower than that. She was teaching and training me to do those things. She had me running her reports. She had me sitting in her meetings. She had me learning lessons. When mistakes happen, she had me walk me through that to see how to get through that as well. So I was already prepared when I got to that position. So all I did was excel. Even after a year being in that position, I got promoted again as well. And, I'm very thankful for that mentor. And, a lot of things I learned through her weren't her doing for me. It was her guiding me through, because you learn a lot more through the failures than you do the successes. That's just my personal opinion. Everything that I've learned through that, what I've begun to realize is that this journey to this heart profit leadership is something that does not take a short bit of time. It takes a while, because unfortunately, the majority of us have that command and control built into our heads already, and it's drilled into us. So it's a journey to get you there. And as you begin to move the needle, it can be a wonderful thing. So I hope that answered your question. If not, please let me know.
Listening to the move the needle thing, and it takes a while. It can take a while to
Yes,
move the
right.
needle. What were some of the things that you did to help move the needle?
And this is something I didn't learn right away. It took me a little bit of time to learn. At the end of the day, command and control is really based on your outcomes, your metrics, your KPIs, as some may say as well, right? They're the performance metrics that showcase how well you're performing in your role and what your performance look like. I used to, and this is a lesson that my mentor let me learn on my own, is I used to be so focused on getting to that particular metrics that I forgot that behind every number on every metric is a person driving that number and that metric. So when I began to learn to focus more so on the person and elevating that person, I began to realize that the metric will showcase itself. Now, listen, I want to be truthful and transparent with you. Sometimes some people have trouble getting to that particular metric. And what you have to do as a leader is you have to provide that support and that resource to them to allow them to be successful. Because at the end of the day, my philosophy is and always will be, I'm training my replacement. Now, that sounds a little funny when my team hears that. But at the end of the day, I want people who are going to be leaders within their own right, who are going to want to grow. Now, you may have some individuals who are very happy where they're at. That's where they want to stay. That's perfectly fine. Well, can you be an asset to the team? And can you take that knowledge base to the team and help that team grow to where they need to be and assist in that process as well? So, that heart approach not only builds a relationship with that particular individual, it leaves a lasting impression on him or her that hopefully they will take with them as they grow within their career and move forward as well.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And you're giving some wonderful, wonderful tips on how to be a good leader. I want to take it back just a few notches, though, and talk about, because I do agree with you, we learn through failure and we learn through the contrast, right?
That's right.
Seeing what we don't like. So I want to go back to seeing what you didn't like. So you had the great boss, and then you had the boss that was not so great. Can you give us a story or an example or just a few of the behaviors of that boss that really caused you to realize, oh, wait, there's another style of leadership I didn't know about.
And I don't want to be that.
And I don't want to be that.
Well, what I experienced when I left that first position and jumped into another company is, well, first of all, that company brought me in because I excelled so well. That other company, they found me, they sourced me, they recruited me, and actually they were the ones that got me out to Los Angeles. And I always wanted to move to Los Angeles. But when I got out here, my immediate supervisor, she was relatively heart-based. She had her moments of command and control, but it was her boss, who later became my boss, that was really the command and control. And what I began to realize is, ever heard the phrase, is it you can't see the forest for the trees or something like that?
Yeah.
That's kind of how he was. At the end of the day, he'll pull up a metric and he wants to see that metric move, which I get it. That's what we're in the business to do. But there's nuances to getting that metric to where it needs to be. There's an understanding of where we're at. And, when you look at something from a 30,000-foot view, you're not going to be able to see things as clearly as someone on the ground walking on the path, or just getting to where we need to be. And I was that person on the ground walking to where we needed to be. Now, as I listened to him speak and I listened to him engage and I listened to him lose his temper quite a few times in the rooms with us and the other executives as well, I began to say, man, okay. I got a taste of what the other side was looking like. And I actually picked up the phone and called my mentor. And she says, well, Eric, you got to understand that not everyone is going to see things through the lens that you're going to see things through. And some individuals are so focused on what it is that they need to do that they completely are blurred by the realities of what the situation are. And when they're blurred by the reality of what the situation are, you're going to find yourself in a situation you're in which an individual may not be aligned to what the actual steps it may take to get us there. What's the old saying? If you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, if you've already taken this path and you failed, well, maybe we need to pivot and look at this from a different direction. Fortunately, individual did not do that. And unfortunately, as time progressed, that individual actually ended up having to exit the company for other reasons. But that was my first taste of that looked like. And I can tell you this, the thing that I took away from this is, I say this to my team all the time, is as we are looking at our metrics and what we're expected to do, I want it to be a collection. And what do I mean by that? I want us to collectively understand what the goal is and collectively understand how we can get there. Me being in the position I am right now, I am that 30,000 foot view now. But I also realize there's people that are boots on the ground who are actually doing the work. So as a goal is presented to me by my executive leadership, I bring it to my team. I go, listen, team, here's the goal that we need to get to. Here's my thoughts on how we can get to that particular goal. But I don't sit in your shoes. I'm not out there in the field doing this every day. Based upon what I say, poke holes in anything in my story you think is not going to work. Tell me what you think we need to pivot and adjust, and we get aligned in that way. And that to me is a heart profit way to do it, as opposed to this is what I need you to do, go out there and do it. And that's kind of what I experienced when I first had that change in leadership. So hopefully that answered your question. If not, please let me know.
If I can build on that, a lot of leaders find themselves in that position.
Yep.
They're a leader of a team. They want to lead in a certain way that, like you, and you have your boss who is very much the opposite and different. And people will know that, right? People will see that. How did you manage to keep your team engaged and motivated and feeling valued, knowing that that's what was, because that, I mean, a lot of people are in that position, good leaders who want to make a difference, who've got a senior person that isn't that way. And I think a lot of times it just causes people to play it small.
That's where strategy comes in, Gloria. That's where you as a leader have to be able to articulate your point to your leadership, to where they understand that you are, number one, you understand what the goal is, and you have a plan to get to that goal. Now, most of the time, understanding and having a plan are great. They want to know the magic question, when? When are
Yeah.
we going to hit this goal, right? So what I typically do is I set a realistic timeline for myself. And what's the old saying? Overpromise, was it? Underpromise, overdeliver. That's always been my philosophy. If I know I can get there in 2 weeks, I'm gonna tell them 3. That way I know that's just being honest with you. So that way I know I have a little buffer for myself as well. Because as much as we would love to believe that everybody on our team are high performers, fortunately they're not. There are some people that you're going to have to kind of work with very, very closely to help move along and get you where you need to get to. So as I am looking at strategy and operations from my perspective, and I know I have a goal that I need to meet and my boss is on me to reach that goal, I say, listen, here's where we're at. Here's where I understand you want us to be. And here's my plan to get us there. And then within that, I asked my manager, I said, will that work? Is there anything I need to pivot or adjust from that? And typically, if I am initiating a brand new strategy, I tell my boss, come join my team call. I don't want you to really participate. I just want you to listen and hear it for yourself as well. Because it's one thing when I tell you, it's another thing when you hear it from them as well. Now, oftentimes, as my leaders do, they will chime in and kind of rah-rah the team to get them where they need to go. But it's very, very important to me that they see what the team is doing and how we're moving the needle as well. So I hope that answers your question. If not, please let me know.
Gloria and I talk about this. We talked about this on another show, trust and transparency. And that transparency piece is such an important piece. It's letting your people know. And what is your recipe for building trust and connection with your people?
As I grew in my role and my position, it wasn't until I got to where I'm at now that I began to utilize that path where, here are the numbers. Here's where we're at. Here's where we need to be at. And, here's my thoughts on how we can get there. Kind of work with me and tell me your thoughts. But if you take a few steps back in my career, that's probably something, Stacey, I probably would not have done because, what I have learned, I work in healthcare, right? So when you start putting numbers in front of doctors and nurses, majority of them, that's not why they got into the business. That's great, Eric, but that's not why I'm here. I got a patient that needs my help, and that's why I am here. So what I would typically do in that situation is I am transparent, but I'm transparent about what our overall objective is and what our goals are. And I am more so interested in their input on how we can get there. Because I tell my team all the time, I don't begin to believe that I have all the answers because I don't. I have been wrong plenty of times in the past, and I'll probably be wrong plenty of times in the future. But here are my thoughts on how we can get there, and I'd be curious to know your thoughts as well. I just think it's that collaboration for me. That's the key piece of this. And the worst thing you can have happen, this has happened to me quite a few times, when you talk to your team, you give them your big speech about how we need to reach our goals, and here's how I think we can get there, and what are your thoughts? and you have that silence we just had on the call right there for a little bit, and no one's engaged. That right there should be telling to a leader for sure. That means your team is either A, not engaged, B, probably close to burning out, or C, just there to collect a check and that's it. And that's when we need to really take a step back and say, all right, maybe I need to focus a little bit more on culture before we start diving into these other things here first. Because at the end of the day, if your team is not driving what it is you need to drive, your superiors are going to look down on you and go, okay, Eric, we're not where we need to be. What's going on? So that's kind of my philosophy. Stacey, that's a very interesting one, but I can tell you this. At my level, yes, I think it's very important to be transparent with the numbers. But if you take a few levels down to like just a local manager, I can tell you right now, unless your team has this is what I've experienced, an incentive to hit those financial marks, it's going to fall on deaf ears. And if you're talking to anyone clinical that I've experienced, unless that doctor has ownership in the company, they're purely and solely focused on their clinical outcomes and want to see their patients. That's what I have historically experienced.
There was a whole generation of leaders that were taught that you cannot show weakness. You
Yep.
cannot show, you have to know what you're doing, you have to know what you're talking about, and that's how you lead. What you just said annihilated all of that. I am
Right.
a human. I make mistakes. I may get it right, I may not get it right. But here's my best thought at this point in time, and help me if there's another way I need to be thinking about this. And so I think that's really important for leaders to recognize, and it is hard as a leader. I've struggled with this. And I watched my dad, who was a pastor of a church, and in the generation where you didn't show weakness. And so a lot of struggles that I watched behind the scenes, and I got to see that we have an opportunity to not go through that now if we're willing to be vulnerable, if we're willing to just speak about we're human, we're all human, we all make mistakes, we all don't know what everything, all the pieces,
Right.
but we're here to work collectively as a whole. And so if you start bringing that leadership style to your team, and the next thing I heard you say was, if they're not collaborating with you, then it's the culture issue, right?
Right.
It's not something's wrong with them. It's the culture that we've created. They might be scared of you. They might
Mm-hmm.
be scared to say something because they don't want to be wrong.
That's right.
And it may or may not have anything to do with you. But if you're speaking straight up, we all don't know everything. We're here to work collectively. You realize nobody's participating. You said take a couple steps back and work on culture. What does that look like? How would a leader go from nobody's participating in my collaboration meetings to building the culture? Like give us three basic foundational steps that somebody could take this week to start building a culture of collaboration and trust.
Number one, this is probably the most important thing that I've ever done, is I do monthly one-on-ones with my team.
Mm,
Now, most people do one-on-ones and they pull up your metrics and they talk about performance and how we can get there and yada, 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 yada. That's not my one-on-one. My
yeah.
one-on-one is you talking to me. Eric, here are the challenges I'm experiencing in my role. Here are the obstacles that I'm feeling as well, and here's how I need your support. My one-on-ones are you keeping me accountable to assist and to help you. I'm just listening. That's all I'm doing. I'm listening. We talk about everything going on within your position that you may need assistance with, and oftentimes, and Stacy, this is when you really begin to build that culture, when your team feels comfortable telling you about what's going on in their personal life. Oh, my wife is pregnant. Oh, I'm about to go visit my sister on this trip. When you start getting those personal messages from your team, that's when you know you're really building a culture with your team. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If anyone thinks they're going to start one-on-ones here in June and by July you're going to have a collaborative team, it doesn't work like that. It takes months to get to that particular point, but you have to be patient. That's the most important thing. You have to be patient. So those one-on-ones to me, although a lot of people love to make them performance-based and make them all about the performance of the role,
Productive.
yeah, productive, that's not the way I approach mine, because we talk about that throughout the week. Right now, this is Eric getting to know you and you getting to know me as well. Second to that, Stacey, you got to be open with your team as well. Especially if you have a brand new team, let the team know a little bit about you. You got to be a little vulnerable with that particular team as well. You got to let them know your background and let them know your shared experiences, and you got to give them the opportunity to vent. And this is the key. Whenever you meet a brand new team, I'm going to tell you something right now. The first person to speak up, I used to think that person was probably going to cause me trouble down the line. What I've come to realize is that person that speak up is probably the person on that team that cares the most and wants to see us succeed. And they're voicing this because they want to see this team succeed and they believe in what it is they need to do. You need to nurture that. You need to build a bond with that individual, because that particular individual probably has the ear of the team. That person is probably speaking for the team. The team members who are scared to speak are probably speaking to this person, knowing that this person is going to be the one to speak up with as well. So I think those one-on-ones are definitely key. Two, you got to sit down with your superiors, and you got to have a transparent, straight conversation with them. Listen, here's what I'm seeing with this team. Here's what I understand the goals to be. In order for us to get there, I need to do this first. And this is going to be a long, laborious task, and it's going to require me to really dive in with this particular team and get to know them. You got to plant that seed in your manager's head so they understand what's going on. I'm an operator, so no one's ever handed me a territory and say, Eric, it's unicorns and rainbows. All you have to do is it's on autopilot. Just let it go. No, you got to fix it. You got to fix it. So that fix really begins with your people. So a lot of the things that I believe are really driven through your people. And third, you got to have an honest conversation with yourself, Stacy and Gloria. You got to really sit back and assess and say, okay, based upon what I'm seeing from my team, based upon what I'm hearing from my superiors and where we want to go, do I realistically believe we can get there in the timetable that they can get there? And you can lie to everyone, but you can't lie to yourself. So when you have that conversation with yourself, you got to say, okay, here's what I think I need to do to help negotiate that. So three-part process to answer your question. Number one, you got to have those one-on-ones with your team. Me personally, they're not work related at all. Well, they're work related, but they're not performance related. They're how can I support you and help? It's you keeping me accountable. Two, you got to set a realistic expectation with your manager and what you're experiencing with your team as well. And tertiary that, you got to have a realistic conversation with yourself in the mirror and say, okay, based upon where we need to go, this is what I believe I need to do. And do I need help to get there? And if you need that help to get there, collaborate with your other departments to get to where you need to get to as well, whether it's education and training for your team. Hey, be honest, education and training for yourself as well. Is it looping in your people ops teams? Whatever it is you believe you need to do to help really get you to where you need to get to. I hope that answered your question. If not, please let me know.
How, and they're listening to you and they're like, how the hell am I supposed to sit down with all of my people once a month? Like that is a ridiculous amount of time and it's going to keep me from getting my job done.
Here's what
You
I'll say
say
to you.
them.
As you sit down with your team, that one time a month, that 30-minute call, you may find that someone on your team may be able to help you with some of those reports that are dragging you down. You may find that someone on your team is really good at finances and really understands what finances are like. You may find that someone on your team is really good at clinical performance and understand what that looks like. And then from there, you can leverage that. And not only are you leveraging that, at the same time, simultaneously, you're building a relationship with your team as well. And you're getting them vested into what you need as well. So yes, it is arduous. It is a bit laborious, but at the end of the day, the end result is going to be something so beautiful that you're going to find yourself in a position to where you have built-in capacity for yourself as well. Hope that answered your question. If not, please let me know.
What does it feel like to be a boss and have committed employees? Like, what is that experience as a leader?
It is the best feeling in the world, because let me take a step back. How do you even know your team is committed to what the goals are and what it is you need as well? Engagement. That's what I have learned. That's the number one thing. I tell my team all the time, listen, I hired you for a position. I trust you to do it. I give you autonomy to do it. There's only one time a week where I need you. It's a 30-minute weekly team meeting that I do, in which we go over everything operational. That's my KPI meetings that I have with my team. And it's transparent. Everyone knows what everyone's doing. Outside of that, if I ever have a meeting that I need to do with my team outside of that block, I'm very, very flexible with them. Hey, listen, Eric, I got something I need to do with this particular patient or this particular member at this time. No problem. I can move it. What is good for you? Number one, that helps drive the accountability on them to get back to you. And number two, it also shows that you trust your team and understand what's going on with them as well. So not only will they be thankful, but they'll come to that meeting well prepared and understanding what you need for them as well. So I get that can to some sound like, oh my God, you want me to meet every direct report once a month for 30 minutes? That sounds arduous, but I tell you, you're going to find some things through some of your people that's really going to help you. That report that you have to run for your superiors every month, you may find that someone else may have to run that as well. And guess what? As you do that, that provides opportunity for your team as well. Because as the company grows and they need people, you can raise your hand and go, such and such right here, I think is going to be a good fit for that position. And here is why, because of this.
I want to throw in there that if you're a leader and a meeting once a month with each and every person who's on your team is too much for you, you got to check on whether or not leadership is for you, because that's really what leadership is all about. It is connecting with people. And when you do that, Eric's just a perfect example of when you build that connection, understand what's going on with folks, then those metrics follow, just as he said in the beginning, right? Focus on people and the numbers follow.
That's right.
What we're trying to do is to flip the script on things. People don't contribute as much because they're probably typically used to not being asked. And people
Right.
are so much more than the current job that they have today. They're so
Right.
much more than what their role is. They're a human being and they have so much more potential. And we got to
And
do.
that just gets me so excited because we're like unwrapping gifts. Like there's these
Right.
gifts that live inside people that we've not tapped into as leaders, as business as a whole. Business as a whole is this is what we want to do and this is how we want to do it. And you fit in this box and you do these things and this is your minimum job requirement. You got to do this and turn off the creativity. We don't want all of that. But now we're saying, no, we want to unwrap that gift of who you are. Let me know who you are. And Eric, I thought that was a beautiful statement that you made, is that because we just talked about this on another show, is your job is to help your people surpass you, to
That's right.
to be able to promote them to your higher ups, because of based on who they are. And you don't know who they are if you're not spending time with them.
I want to give you a prime example of this. I got hired by this company to run a territory. Now, when I got hired, I had a list of directors that were going to be reporting up to me. One of my directors flat out told me, Eric, I applied for your position. Now, anyone that hears that, it's glorious, like, ugh, people think, okay, this person may be, confrontational with you. This person may be difficult to overcome, but no, I embrace that. So this individual wanted my position, wanted my role. So I'm gonna teach you what it's like to be in this position, to be in this role. Now they never really outlined to me why they didn't get it. Obviously they picked me for whatever reason it may be, but I intertwined that person in some of my daily workings and daily reports and daily call-outs that I had to do, just like someone did for me as well, because I'm very adamant about that. Now the company later restructured, and that individual ended up going into a different leader. Now I remember maybe close to a year into it, that individual ended up getting promoted in there. And when I reached out to him, I said, number one, congratulations, well deserved. But a lot of it was based on that leader that took over for that individual, recognizing this individual kind of knew what to do and what was expected and really kind of met the metrics. So building that foundation of people is what I believe is the most fulfilling thing. And it puts my 2 feet on the ground every morning outside of my bed. So that fills my cup.
That's beautiful, beautiful. I do want you to show your cup that you got as a gift from some of your employees and tell us what the recipe is on that cup.
Recipe: hard work, 1000%; unrivaled skill, 500%; passion, 100%; caring, 300%; sleep, 0%. They know I'm up early; and caffeine, 110% as well. And then she put a picture of me on the front. She knows I like scotch, so I'm a scotch guy. So that's one of many. And then these are from my old directors as well as teams that I've had as well. I keep them up there as memento because I miss those teams, and I went through a lot of trial and error with those teams, and they helped really mold me into the leader I am in today.
And that's got to be really fulfilling and validating when you receive those kind of special
Right.
gifts.
Especially
That-
unknowingly. Didn't
yeah.
know they were coming. I tell you, I had this clinic I was running, and I was filling in for a manager who went on maternity leave, so she was gone for several months. On my last day before that manager was supposed to come in, they called me into the clinic area. So there's a business area and there's a clinic area. And the way this clinic is set up is all the chairs are in a circle around the exterior inside the building. And in the middle, there's your nurses station. Each member had a sign up that says, Eric, we will miss you, wrapped around the room. My heart broke on that one. I was about to walk into a meeting. I said, oh, I got a few minutes. I can be out there in a few minutes. I'm rushing. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
goodness. So when you can lead with that kind of passion, I'm telling you, those results are there. And some of those people I still talk to this day as well. And it'll probably be friends for life.
There's a side bonus there as you gain
Right.
friends in life.
And this business is very, very small. You never know who you're going to run into. So be careful of the toe you step on, because it may be connected to the butt you may have to kiss in the future.
That's a whole nother conversation
That's
for
right.
sure on that one. Oh, goodness, Eric, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day.
No
We
worries.
appreciate the wisdom that you have absolutely shared in such an articulate way. I know this is going to help our leaders learn more about what it is to be that kind of compassionate leader that is the future for humanity, is where we are headed. So thanks for helping us along this journey, and thank you for being a part of Heart Profit. All right.
My pleasure.
If you want more information about how to become certified? Eric actually is one of the ones you can talk to. He and I
Right.
work together on bringing companies along the process of becoming Heart Profit certified. Gloria will be the one teaching you the curriculum when you come in. So you can check us out at heartprofit.org to find out more information about this. All right. We love you guys. Keep flipping the script. We're going to keep doing things different and bring a whole new world into existence in the business world. All right. Love you guys.